Hey, what's up guys? It's your man Foriam again, back with a new boss guide for Wartales. A complete series in which I share everything you need to know to defeat any elite on extreme or the highest difficulty in the game. From preparations to combat setup, builds, weaknesses and takedown strategies. These guides will basically have it all. Not only will they work for extreme, but also lower difficulties, as the strategies used are similar yet easier. In today's guide, we're gonna bring Fenris Dredd to justice, so let's get right to it. Alright, so here we are once again on extreme difficulty, month 10, day 2 already. Almost 64 hours, so yeah, pretty interesting numbers right there. But today, our target is Fenris Dredd, so we're currently in the Grimir province. So you basically use the Gothenburg border crossing, walk right past this to the Brotherhood's forest, follow the road to the north, and this is where you will find a pretty big pond, where of course you will see Fenris Dredd. Pick up a contract for him, try to negotiate a as high as possible rate in one of the inns nearby. Before the encounter, be sure to save if you're not an Iron Man, and of course, you also want to do some resting to get some nice bonuses during combat. I mean, I have a couple snacks right here, which increase my critical hit chance by 10%. I also have increased movement speed, increased constitution. There are plenty of dish types which can help you to dramatically boost your combat performance. And if you have enough influence, always assign a lieutenant to your banner, so you can go with respect for the enemy, get more loot after the combat, maybe even also swift progress if you want to get more experience. So now we're ready for the encounter with Fenris Dredd, a level 9 champion with also a reward of almost 300 crowns. And yeah, the level scaling is pretty accurate compared to our average crew level. Alright, so here we have Fenris Dredd on the battlefield. You can already notice at the beginning that one of your characters will be targeted by Judgment. So let's first cover all the abilities he will cast during the battle. The first one is basically Kill the Weak. He will deal an X amount of damage and force the target to disengage. This kill resets if the unit was already engaged in combat, so that basically means you won't be able to tank the target. If I engage with Ragnar, he will simply disengage and in the same turn go to the weaker target which is targeted. We also have the For Freedom. It will deal an X amount of damage to all the units in the area and also knock them back plus apply bleeding. So this is a pretty scary ability which is gonna hit like a truck on all your targets. So that is why you wanna have all your squishy targets divided when he decides to cast this one, which basically happens at the end of the first round. After the first round, he's gonna have more abilities, but we're gonna talk about those in a second. So how do we start with this battle knowing that we won't be able to engage with our tanks to basically protect Vanessa from harm? She will be hunted guaranteed. So you want to go with this. Place her as far away as possible. Put your tanks as close as possible. Put all your squishy targets away from each other. So what I'm going to do is place one on the very left, one right behind my tanks, and one right in front of Vanessa. This should be an archer, guys. Very important, I'm sharing my builds in the description, which you can see at the top right of the screen, but I think it's an absolute no-brainer to have at least one of your archers with recoil shot, as trust me, this is a lifesaver when it comes down to situations just like this one. If we quickly look at Fenris right here, his movement speed allows him to reach every possible slot for our characters to start from. So it's going to be impossible for us to hide, while if we use the recoil shot, check this out. We will basically reduce his movement speed by 50% and deal a nice amount of damage while we're at it. Now, if we click on him, you can see that the only target he can engage with or deal damage to is Maximus and probably also Ragnar because of his polearm, but that is basically it. He will always choose the weakest target of the ones in his range, so he has to choose between the two tanks. And right now, what I want to do is move this character as far away as possible, because if we keep it close to our tanks, after engaging with Maximus or Ragnar, he will basically move to those weak targets again. So we're going to end turn, we won't be able to build up Valor with Valor support, let's say, but at least we no longer have to worry about Vanessa getting attacked. See? Now the next squishy target in line, which is in range, will be focused by Fenris. So we're gonna have to move away with Ari. So I'm gonna stand right behind Maximus, land a couple shots. You can see that we can hit like a truck right here. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Knock him back once again, apply the slowdown. You can still see that his movement is limited. And I'm gonna hit him once again and run away as far as possible. End the turn. Now he's going for Ragnar. That's fine, because it's one of my tanks. He will get one of those fortitude stacks as well. So every time when he attacks, this goes up by 1. And at 10 gets the brutality, which will dramatically increase his damage. But at 20% HP, it will also flee. So you want this battle to be as quick as possible. Take him out fast, which I think we're doing a pretty good job at, as he already lost almost all his armor. Anyways, next target is Vanessa, and this is actually an amazing one when it comes down to eliminating tanks, as it can deal a lot of damage over time. So we have our Torch Strike, we have Poison Vial, and also Explosive Gas. Torch Strike will apply Burn. Burning characters will lose 15% of their maximum HP. So if they still have all their HP, a fantastic dot or damage over time ability to place on them, because at the end of the round, that tick will happen. Anyways, the Poison Vials right now, the poison stacking is going to cost us a lot of Valor points. 15 in total to apply 4 and then double that to 8. On a regular target, the damage with this will be insane. It can allow you to almost one-shot bears, for example, while against bosses, this damage is reduced dramatically, which you can see in this little fragment right here, which I wanted to do for showcase purposes, but you can tell that right now, dealing damage over time is not going to be worth it. While we, of course, want to apply as much as possible, and we don't want to run away too far, because if we do it with Vanessa, he will basically go for Lucille. Walk towards him, first apply the Torch Strike, then do the Stabby Stabby, and then we're going to do the Run ability and say, Ciao Fenris. So now his judgment is going to be back on Ragnar. End the turn. Still quite surprised, by the way, that he's not going for Lucille. Maybe it's just RNG on which target he focuses, but in general, now all the squishies are very safe from harm, because he simply can't reach them with his reduced movement speed. Anyways, now he wants to go for Ragnar, which I am totally fine with. So what we're gonna do is just stand behind him, give him a nice destabilization kick in the nuts. Now his guard is reduced to 0. We're also going to do a basic attack. And look at that. We applied the Dazed. This is why I absolutely love this build. We can just disengage, deal a nice amount of damage right there, and do the taunt, apply weakening once again. End turn, see what he does. First a disengage, and then he's going to re-attack him, re-disengage. So it's not that scary. But yeah, now we are making some nice progress, I would say, because he is kind of forced to engage with my tanks as all the weaker targets are far away. So we can quickly trim some of his HP, while we also want to make sure the damage he deals while we're at it is as low as possible. And this is where one of my tanks, Maximus, comes in with the weakening blow. This will reduce his damage by 50% for 3 rounds. I mean, we already cast a taunt with Maximus, which does this, but yeah, this is something you want to do when you're doing boss fights all the time. Apply that weakening, make sure they don't deal a lot of damage, put as many damage reduction modifiers on them, and also reduce their guard, their armor. Fragility will increase their damage taken by 30%, which I passively apply to nearby enemies with my rangers with Deadly Contract. Fragility to the closest enemies for a full round, while slowdown is the recoil shot from my archers, reduce the movement speed. Fortitude will make him go berserk at 10 stacks, burning, lose HP at the end of the round, destabilization, 0 guard for more damage, and of course that weakening right there. Anyways, we're gonna hit him with the regular pound right now as well. End the turn, and he is just gonna deal tickle damage to the tanks as they are designed to do the tanking. Right before the end of the first round, his next ability will be for Freedom, with which he will deal a ton of damage to all the enemies in the area, and he will also knock them back and apply bleeding, which can be devastating for your squishies. That's why we've hit him in the corners of the map. And our last target is basically Lucille, so what we're gonna do is just... yeah, we're not gonna engage combat with him. Just gonna do a little torch strike, which you can do with one space in between. But now we just want to run away because we don't want to get attacked by that AoE slash, which is going to do right now. See, applies a bleeding, and on my tanks, this is not really going to be scary. So going into the new round, we still see that Fenris has the slowdown applied. He won't be able to reach any of my squishy targets. At a certain point in combat, he will gain access to some new skills. The first one is I Need to Run, which basically allows him to disengage and charge in a straight line, which will deal a big amount of damage to all the units in its path. The second is Flee. If she no longer has Fortitude, the unit will basically flee the battle. It will be gone, but if not, it will basically lose 2 Fortitude stacks. Right now on this preview, you can see it has 10, so every time this one is cast, it will slowly go back to 0 and eventually run away from combat, so taking him out as quick as possible is important. This is the perfect setup though, where fleeing is probably not going to happen as we almost took him down, but let's try to get our hands on these skills anyway. So I'm just gonna stab him in the back for a second, and there we go. We instantly switch to the new skill set, saying that he needs to run. He will no longer stack the Fortitude and will basically slowly build it down to that fleeing moment. Right now though, it already has 13, so it's gotta cost at least, I think, 7 times the flee before he can run off. But now we can try to just finish him with a torch strike. End the turn, and he's just gonna disengage. Try to run for his life. But thank God we have some archers right here, which we can use to just walk in range and take him out in the back. Flips. There we go. Fenris the Dredd is dead. In other words, passé composé, no longer a threat in the Grimir province. We also get our hands on the Liberator, a legendary polearm which you can of course upgrade with a Kill the Weak ability. Deal 80% of your strength damage and force the target to disengage. Reset the skill if it was already engaged to the target, which I think can make up for some pretty interesting builds. Anyways, we're gonna loot everything right now, repair the damages done, and continue our quest in Wartales on extreme difficulty. Ladies and gentlemen, that is basically everything you need to know to tackle Fenris the Dredd in the Grimir province. If you found this video helpful, please do hit that like button and share it in the comments down below. If you managed to take him down because of it, it would be awesome to hear your thoughts about the strategy, or maybe you have an entirely different one to share with the community. Happy to hear those as well. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thanks for watching. That's it for today. I have plenty more Wartales coming your way though, so be sure to stay tuned. Good luck on your future adventures. I'll see you in the next video or live stream. Take care. Peace.